Good evening. My name is Quayosha Woody. I'm the host for this evening and also the founder of the Village Project. The Village Project has a strong mission to build successful entrepreneurial leaders with a work-life balance. And from time to time, we actually highlight entrepreneurs who are doing some incredible things in the community. And tonight, we will highlight Kimmy Abifarim, who's an entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur who has multiple different businesses and nonprofit organizations. And just to tell you a little bit more about Kimmy Abakran, she's a holistic entrepreneur. And since 8 years old, she's recognized her gifts of being a creator, an educator, mentor, and artist. And as a former VCU graduate, earning a bachelor's degree in English with a minor in African American Studies, Kimmy has also earned her master's in history, nonprofit management, and education leadership. She has made it her life's mission to help the youth to hone in on their potential to become the person they were created to be. Today, she is the program director and CEO of Culture for My Kids, a nonprofit organization dedicated to providing a cultural, historical, academic, and artistic outlet for youth of all ages. And she's also the owner of Yema, Yemo, Yemoja gift. Sorry for that. I'm sure you're going to correct me in just a moment.
Yes,
Um,
it's okay. We're gonna roll with it.
a company that empowers people with cultural tools that will initiate healing, empowerment, growth, and self sufficiency. And so tonight, thank you so much for joining us live, Ms. Kimmy. It's actually a pleasure to interview you this evening. And also, just before we go ahead and begin, just tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay, so I am an educator at heart. So what that means is just everything I do has education at the basis. So my goal is, and I'm actually taking this quote from you, saying that I help people plant the seeds to become the best version of themselves. I've been loving that since you said it. So I'm just an educator. That's it. And that manifests itself in so many different ways through so many different gifts. But that's my catch-all title. I'm an educator.
Yes, and so correct me, I do apologize in your bio. How do you pronounce your business?
My business is Yemoja's Gifts. Yemoja's Gifts.
Yemoja's gift. Thank you so much for that. And the reason why I wanted to highlight Kimmy is because for entrepreneurs, as you all navigate the day to day life, you may face challenges and obstacles that aren't favorable. And on top of building a business, these personal challenges can be a bit depressing and can be very, very frustrating, especially when things continuously to happen back to back. And how do you deal with these roadblocks can sometimes affect your motivation and your determination to keep moving forward. Your mindset affects how you grow, how you learn, how you handle risk, and also how you manage the stressors. And this happens if you're not thinking abundantly. And so tonight, Kimmy will actually be sharing about her experiences as an entrepreneur, but also provide tips on how to develop the mindset of abundance early on during your startup entrepreneurial journey. And so I actually was online and I was taking a look at your bio and I saw this incredible quote that you had online. And you said, I am a holistic entrepreneur. My work, my passion, my diet, my spirituality, my artistry, even my physical workouts are all interconnected. Every
Mhm.
minute of my life is connected to the same story: good character, growth, love for my community, and organic living. So, with that being said, please tell us, what does holistic entrepreneur mean?
It means just that of everything being related. You know, when I first started, I've always been one to have my hands in so many different pots. And so when I first started, you know, I was this way in the classroom. I was this way in the community. You know, I was a different way at home. And that creates burnout, trying to just spin all of those things. And so what I started to really sit back and look at what was important to me, what was my center story, and it all centered around culture. So now whether you're sitting in my public school classroom, my home school, at home, you're getting culture. So holistic is that, and your story is told through everything that you're doing. And it is the center. It's kind of like your personal mission statement. We know that, you know, businesses, organizations have mission statements. I have one for my family. I have one for myself. I have one for each of my business that are still the same. So when I'm building a business, I look at how my finances relate to that, how my health relates to that, how my family ties into that, because nothing is separate. What you do in one space is like throwing that pebble in a pond. What you do in one space is going to affect something else. And so the more you consider those things, then the more everything will go into what's called synchro destiny. It'll start to line up. And I actually have a book called Holistic Development, and it walks through the difference of studying your business in isolation and making sure that everything connects because you're looking for longevity. So holistic entrepreneur is including everything. Everything works hand in hand. Nothing is separate from what you're doing.
Absolutely. I really do agree with that. And the next question is, now tell us a little bit more about your business and why did you decide to become an entrepreneur in the first place?
So I think when I think about that whole thing as an entrepreneur, it's kind of like, okay, I am fortunate that I love everything that I do, that I get up in the morning. Every place that I go to is not a job for me. It's a love, it's a passion, and I appreciate it. So what Yemoja's gifts is, all of those things that I've been doing the last decade for other people is me rolling into something that's going to be long lasting. Because now we see, even with the pandemic, jobs that you thought was secure are not secure.
Right.
And so what Yemen Jobs Gifts is, I have put myself in a position to be a contractor, and I contract with different organizations. So I'm kind of coming in on my terms. So Yemen Jobs Gifts, I have a little acronym, ACES. So there's arts, there's culture, there's education, and there's shopping. And it all goes to empowerment, knowledge of self, and helping people build their medicine bag. So I have different entry gates where people can come and they're getting culture, they're getting things to uplift and heal them. And so becoming an entrepreneur was just a natural that of wanting to share the gifts, wanting to share them on my terms, and
Mhm.
wanted to share them in its authenticity, because we know people can hire us and they're like, oh, that's great, but can you X, Y, and Z? So the entrepreneur part of it was like, if I'm coming on my own terms.
Right. And so most entrepreneurs, I find that they struggle with that they have struggled with finding their purposes, or and also for those of you who are watching who are thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, but not quite exactly sure how you're going to what lane you're going to thrive in. Tell us a little bit more because I know in your bio, you've discovered pretty much entrepreneurial abilities at 8 years old. And so, how
Yes.
does one find their purpose? Tell us a little bit more about how to find your calling. How do you do that? How do you know what is for you? How do you know that entrepreneurship is the lane for you?
So I think sometimes that we get a little intimidated by the word entrepreneurship, and that can be kind of scary in so many ways. What we need to just really focus on passion and purpose, because if you chase passion and purpose, everything else will fall into place. So you have to think about those things. Again, I'm doing everything now that I was doing at 8 years old. So think about those things when you were younger that you enjoyed doing, because when you were younger, you had no fear. You had no fear. You would
Right.
climb to the top of the monkey bars, jump from trees. You had no fear. It's only when we start to go to school, we start to go into other institutions that you are taught fear. So you have to go back and think to your younger self, what did I enjoy doing? What was I passionate about? Or even now, what is it that gets me excited? Is it working with children? Is it being an educator? Is it being a coach? What is it that gets you excited?
Right.
That you wouldn't mind getting up and doing every single morning. And once you attach to that and you explore it and you develop it, read a book about it, follow people on social media who's doing it. And I would say with the purpose, what are those things that you can do without going to sit in someone's school
Yeah.
and getting a degree? What are those things that come to you naturally without having to get a degree? That is your purpose, what you are here for. I'm not saying don't ever go to school to build upon those skills, but what is it that you find comes to you without a struggle?
Right.
That will be the indication of what your purpose is. Your natural gifts given to you before anyone else tries to certify you in. That is how you find your purpose.
So, is it fair to say that fear is a learned behavior? Because I know you were talking about as a kid, you are daredevil. You're willing to. I mean, even when I think about my niece, so I have a 1-year-old niece, and that girl,
Yeah.
what is determined? She was so determined to walk, you know, and just to see her, it was like, I'm gonna walk. I'm gonna do this. And she fell down so many times, but she was just like, I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna
Yeah.
walk. If I fall, I may cry, I may get bruised, but I'm gonna walk. And it's like I see this person walking, I see auntie walking, I see mom walking. I'm gonna walk. And so she never had a fear in her bone. And when I think about my nieces and my nephews, I can see that when it came time for them to learn how to walk, they were with it. And
Yeah.
so, do you think that fear is a learned behavior?
It definitely is. I have my youngest has never been to school. He's been a homeschool. He's been forever surrounded with a village of people who have always uplifted him. And
Mhm.
so there's certain things when we go certain places. He went into a 7-Eleven one time and he was like, I really want this toy. I'm like, you can't get it. I'm not paying for it and nobody's gonna give it to you.
Right.
The manager in the store heard him and he gave him the toy. So my son walked, and at 8 years old, he told me, at 8, my baby boy told me, my fear is not real.
Mm.
It is not real. And his whole thing is if you have it in your mind that you can do something and you commit to doing something, there's a fear is not there. The thing that I've read in a lot of different books with a lot of different speakers is that they say, if you have a fear of something, analyze why do you fear that? What is the worst thing that can happen? And then 9 times out of 10, when you get to the worst thing that can happen, you'll realize in your mind, that ain't gonna happen. It's
Right.
not going to happen. We build ourselves up and we talk ourselves out of so many opportunities and out of our own passion for something that we have created in our minds. So,
Mhm.
yeah, fear is taught to us because it's easier when you can build a society of people that work for you and
Mhm.
not be competitors. So, yeah, fear is taught to us as a society. But like my 8-year-old said, it's not real. Deal with it, go to the bottom of it, explore what's the worst that can happen, and have a big old laugh at yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. And you know what? And that's what being an entrepreneur is all about. It's all about, being a daredevil and taking risks. Because to be honest with you, there's no such thing as fear or failure as an entrepreneur. Um, and the reason why I say that is because failure, you're not going to fail. These are all learning lessons. This is all a part of being a growing as an entrepreneur, growing as a leader in the entrepreneur space. If everything came right, what would we learn? What would we be able to master? Nothing. So these obstacles and challenges, although they're not favorable, although they are definitely frustrating, it's not something that is a permanent situation unless it becomes permanent, unless you make it permanent, unless you say, I accept this and I'm going to make this a part of my everyday habit and lifestyle. But when you recognize that this is just a temporary little roadblock, that's when you're like, okay, and you rise above it. So I agree. I really do think that fear is a learned behavior. And it is not a behavior that I would want to incorporate into my daily living. I just don't. It stunts your growth. It's it's the opposite of abundance. It's scarcity, right? So when you think, so I can't wait to talk to you a little bit more about the abundance. And you just mentioned, right, about you having a son, and I'm sure he's watching everything that you're doing and learning from mom. And so tell us a little bit, because this month is October is Small Business Women Month, and I've been highlighting some incredible women who have been doing some amazing things in the community and just providing like some awesome statistics about women growing, their business in the US. That's like over 12 million women who are womenpreneurs. We generate about $1.2 trillion annually in sales. So that's huge for us ladies,
Very
because yes. And so tell me, how has being a womanpreneur been for you?
It has been an amazing experience. And so, because everything is a lesson and a blessing, I look at my growth,
Mhm.
because when I started, it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be this womanpreneur. It was, I want something for my baby girl, something to pass down to her. And so that's when I went in the focus. And then my children have been an absolute blessing in all of this. My daughter is now, a womanpreneur. And
Mhm.
my son, he's now 12. But when, again, going back to when he was younger, they did something, a class project, and he sat down with his class project. He put a chair down and he was telling me, can you sign your name right here? I think he must have been 5 or 6. Can you put your name on the interest list so we can email you about more things? And so the blessing has been through my children. My son writes receipts for things that I do. He's a businessman. He has no fear. He walks up to people. We had a fundraiser. He raised $100 by himself. And so again, being a womanpreneur has been a beautiful journey of lessons and blessings, because I'm here with my children. My son is homeschooled. My daughter graduated from homeschool. She's in college. So I'm here to support them. I'm here to see my husband work in the garden. And that has kind of strengthened our marriage because I'm home and I'm seeing the hard work and the investment. And so the end has been a blessing, but woo, this journey. Oh my goodness. It has taught me so much about myself, the type of person that I want to be. And it has taught me that, yeah, there are some things you can do, but that's not the best journey for you. I think that's the biggest thing, that when we start off, we're excited. I can do this, that, and this. You need me to do something? I'm there because we're getting exposure, or we're getting contracts. But there are certain things, like for me, I say, okay, I could be the principal of a school, but what would that be for my family?
Right.
So it's been a lot of growth in finding out the things that I want to accept and the things that I want to turn down. So being a womanpreneur has taken me from, this is what I thought that I was going to start off doing, and I'm in a whole other direction, doing more work with my hands. So being a womanpreneur has been a journey of discovery, a
Mm.
journey of discovery. Everything has been a lesson and a blessing. So the lesson have taught me so many things about myself, so many things that I have to go back and deal with and heal from and uncover. It's taught me about lessons about money that I need to fix, lessons about me deserving certain things. So the womanpreneur, you think you going out here doing stuff for other people, but it is teaching you how to move next level, and mentally, just all kind of ways. So it's definitely been a journey of lessons, blessings, getting to know people, and knowing when people are watching you and you don't know. So that's been the biggest awakening. You never know who's watching
No,
and
you
who's
don't.
looking.
No.
And so that's been the biggest lesson right there is, again, holistic. I got to be that entrepreneur when I'm going shopping, when I'm picking up my going to Kinko's. People are looking. So being a womanpreneur has taught me there's no off time. You holistic. Be who you say you are in this business at all times, because there's an accountability piece that you cannot walk away from if you want longevity.
I'm so glad that you said holistic because as you were talking, the first word that came to my mind was holistic. Because a lot of times people like to separate business and personal, but to me, you can't. So elaborate on that a little bit. Elaborate on that.
It's just the things of, and even in the times when you get discouraged, I want to say that, just knowing that you cannot separate. I've had to talk to people and say, baby, you got a business. You can't be on your Facebook cussing people out. You know, you can't. And I tell my young people, I've had them since middle school. And I'm like, okay, when y'all going out and partying, y'all still representing my business.
Right.
So you cannot separate it. Once you put yourself out there for people to see, they're seeing you when you're not looking at them. And it can be moments that'll bite you in the butt, or it could be moments where I would go to an event walking around and elders will put money in my hand. I see what you're doing. Keep on doing what you're doing. And they will write checks or put money in my hand. And I'm not talking about $5. So you cannot separate business from personal. That is why when you go into your business, you go into it holistically. Only create something that you can live up to.
And that's why authenticity is so important. You have to be yeah, because we get starting in business initially coming at it from our perspective. But like you said, you don't know who's watching. You don't know through your story, the reason why, the motivation behind you starting your business can carry on and to help someone else start their business, start their own initiative. And so because of that, they're watching you, they're learning from you. So it's always good to walk the walk and talk the talk. Like those should be the same, because people do not move because of what you say. They move by what you do. So it is important to say and do the same thing. I totally agree. And it comes with being holistic. I totally agree. So going back just a little bit, I noticed that after reading about womenpreneurs and understanding them a little bit more, a few reasons why women go into business are the freedom and flexibility, also being able to spend time with family and fulfilling life's passion, like you talked about. So the next question, to take a deeper dive into it, you talked about it a little bit, but can you address a little bit more? How has being an entrepreneur impacted your family? And is it possible to be a successful mompreneur and wife?
It is. Now that's a part of the lessons. Because starting with the nonprofit, it was like I was so excited. People are booking my children, and my family is here. They're a part of it. They're drumming and dancing. My husband drums, and this is great. And then we started to take on so much. We were picking up so many children. The vans went down, and so it was a lot of that. Give, give, give. We were so excited to be involved in so many things. But then we had to look back and see that there was a sacrifice. So in order to be successful, you have to start holistic, continue holistic. I had to listen to my husband and my children when they were tired. I had to listen when they wanted to do other things. I had to listen. Even at the height of one time, we had 40 children in a dance company. That's a lot. I had to listen to what was going on in my household and make adjustments, because understanding, like, your family is a business too.
Mhm.
Your family is a business. That's part of the holistic aspect of everything. If your family's not happy and things are not going the way it should be in your house, that's going to trickle to your business
Yeah.
one way or another. So
Mhm.
being an entrepreneur has really taught me life lessons of, okay, sometimes I have to say no. As good as an opportunity sounds, sometimes I have to say no. But then we learn that brings up your value
Yeah.
because everybody knows they can't just get you at the drop of a dime. So I learned that saying no drives up your value. And so to be successful, I had to listen to my husband. I had to listen to my children, the varying ages that they were, and I had to regroup and I had to carve time for us. And I had to make sure that their needs were met. And I had to create that balance. So you can be successful as long as you're not being selfish and you are looking for balance. Because again, if we chase passion, abundance will come.
Right.
So we can chase passion, still have balance, and make sure our first business, our household, is running the way it should.
Absolutely. So I heard a few things: boundaries, setting boundaries. I also heard, as you were talking, self care through work life balance and value. Most startups think that, business is transactional. It's not transactional, it's transformational. You are making a difference in your customer lives. And so, like you were mentioning, it's really hard to be valuable to your customers when there aren't the appropriate boundaries that are set up. And you lose creativity by working all hours. So we had a mixer on Tuesday where I talked about whether one of the questions in the mixer was what popular entrepreneurial advice do you disagree with? And one of those was working 24/7, working around the clock, answering, and so it just made me think. Like, I've talked to some of my colleagues and some of my fellow entrepreneurs, and they're just like, you know what? I thought you had to answer the phone call every time a customer came or customer call. I didn't want to lose an opportunity. And, it's like, I know now that I need to set boundaries, because setting boundaries create that value, but it also creates um, uh, uh, balance for yourself, you know. And so I love that you talked about that. And so, speaking of not missing opportunities, in order for you to have that mindset and understand value and opportunities, you have to separate scarcity versus abundance. So let's talk about, what does abundance mean to you?
Okay, so abundance is having everything you need when you need it. So that is abundance. So it's not money. It's friends who come to support you. Is the kind of the circle of reciprocity, either within your community or within the universe. Because if you're living, if you work your passion, you're establishing boundaries, you're doing self-care, you're keeping focus on the goal, and you're steady, abundance will come to you, even when you don't know where resources are going to come from. Having the abundance mindset and manifesting,
Mhm.
because we have everything we need to manifest everything that we want, as long as we're clear, and as long as if it's something for, like, the betterment of just whatever circle you're in. It can't be self-serving. So again, like you said, it's transformational. As long as what you are doing is transformational and you are just staying focused, abundance will find you. But you have to get rid of the fear and just know that you will have everything you need when you need it. And sometimes if you don't get it right away, you're not ready. And you
Mhm.
need to figure out those things to get you ready for abundance, because you will always have what you need as long as your mindset. Yeah. So as
Absolutely.
long as you're in that mindset.
You made me think about even my own journey as an entrepreneur. Um, you learn each level requires a different version of yourself. And so it's like, wow, the Village Project was birthed in 2017. I've learned so much now than I did at the very beginning of, starting out. So for startups who are watching this, just, don't fall victim to the current and present view of where your business is currently at. Have long term thinking, have abundance thinking, and just continue to progress forward. You'll see that, and I'm so glad that I didn't have everything now that I had back then because I wasn't ready. And
Wasn't ready.
that's a hard pillow to swallow, especially when you're like so
Yes.
excited. You're like, yeah, I'm so excited. I just became an entrepreneur. I'm about to do this. You got it all figured out. It's almost like case in point, teenagers, right? I don't want to talk too much about my teenage years, but one thing I can say is, I remember my mom saying, "You just don't know the half." As a teenager, right. We think we know everything, and then she's like, you just don't know the half. And then as I continue to age, like my business continues to age, that's when I realized, oh my God, she was right. Like I didn't know.
Yes.
I didn't know what I know now versus when I was 18. And so it's the same thing. You learn things, I'm in year 3 versus year 1. I mean, the growth is there, obviously, but so definitely I had to think early on. I had to develop an abundance mindset because that was the
Mhm.
only way for me to continue to move forward. So I totally agree. So please share, how does a person starts to build or develop an abundance mindset? How does somebody get to do that who's already thinking negatively or who has that scarcity mindset? How do they incorporate abundance thinking into their daily lifestyle and habits?
Okay, so what you need to do is first identify the thinking, your thinking, whether you are in scarcity or, you're moving out or maybe you're just stagnant. And so to develop the abundance mindset, you need to focus on what do you want? What do you want? But you don't stop there. You need to then go into why do I want these things? And then you need to listen because it could be, I think the one book I was reading, they were like, somebody wanted a new apartment building because the person above them were making so much noise. And so they searched and searched for apartment buildings and didn't fall through. And then the person above them moved out. And they realized, I like this place. So the thing we need to is not get attached to material things. Be attached to the function or the purpose that that thing will do in your life. So when we talk about entrepreneurship, I didn't want an entrepreneur because it was a fancy title or different things like that. I wanted freedom and flexibility. So that becomes my focus. I'm focusing on freedom and flexibility. So what did that bring for me? Contract work. So I contract with the public school system. I only teach 3 classes. And so that's not something that I'm necessarily running through my program because I don't have to be the back office and all that other stuff. But it was a means to my end. So think about what you want. Think about why you want it. What will it do for you in your life? And then you need to explore the different ways that you can gain that aspect. And then once you imagine it, we talk so much about vision boards, is really real. Your
Mhm.
thinking
Yes.
is the center of this. So if you're afraid of this thing that you can't have, you need to unpack, why am I afraid? Did something happen to me when I was younger to make me think I didn't deserve this? Because you will not have an abundance mindset or draw an abundance to you if you're thinking you're not deserving. So that's the other number one thing. You have to believe that you are deserving of abundance. If you don't believe that, you need to sit still, find some time with yourself, and figure out why you feel like you're not deserving. Because abundance will not come to you if you have an energy blockage. So you
Mhm.
have to deal with your personal energy. So it's a process, but you got to sit with you and say, hey, what's going on? What do
Right.
we want?
Right.
Can we imagine? You have to picture yourself having all the things that you want to have and believe that you can get it. And just like the chemistry equation, when both sides are balanced, then you
Mhm.
get that other thing.
Yeah.
But you have to identify what's important to you, your values, make sure you deserve them. If you don't feel like you do, sit with yourself and unpack. That's part of balancing the equation. And that is how you begin to develop an abundance mindset.
I love it. Thank you so much for that. And again, I thought about holistic. It's really
Yes.
good to separate your business from your personal. Why? Because you're bringing your personal stuff to the entrepreneurial territory. So, you know, how you handle your business is based off of your own personal mindset. How you
Yeah.
develop as an entrepreneurial leader is, how you are personally. How's your leadership skills? That will help with delegation, delegating to your team, communication. How's your communication skill? Do you have trust issues? Because if you have trust issues, it's going to be really difficult for you to become a successful entrepreneur, because you're going to have to trust people with your systems, with your functions, to handle things on a day-to-day basis. And so it's like you said, you got to look within first to progress forward within yourself and your business. So, you know what? This brings me to the next question. Why do you think that it is important for a startup to start thinking abundantly at the beginning of their entrepreneurial journey?
And just starting up is tough, especially if you didn't go through the school where they give you all these little secret tips. And, when
Mhm.
you're starting from scratch, and even if you go to school, that's why I have the book Holistic Development, because what you learn in school, it focuses so much on your individual journey into business, which we already know is not an individual journey. So thinking abundantly from the beginning, it makes it not an isolating journey. Sometimes being an entrepreneur can feel so isolating because you're the back office, the front office, the side office, the volunteers, the employees, HR. And sometimes it can feel isolating and it can feel frustrated. So if you're thinking abundantly, like, okay, I'm great at doing the work. But this whole thing with the back office and everything else and the website, that's my struggle. So I'm thinking abundantly, what kind of person do I need to come and help me do this? And you list those things out. And then once you're focused and you're in your purpose, next thing you know, you will meet someone who's going to help you do that. So thinking abundantly is very important for entrepreneurs, especially when you don't have a lot of money. But resources is what you need. Money is that last thing. Resources is what you need. And so, thinking abundantly, we want to get in the mindset also of reciprocity. There's a lot of barter and trade that can happen. So, that's why when we talk about abundantly, we're not talking about money. We're talking about having the things that we need. So, changing your focus from money to abundance will give you the people that's going to help you, the people that's going to share your vision, the people that say, hey, let me help you with this. I have free time. But they say three things you need: somebody with time, somebody with talent, somebody who treasures that can help you. So thinking abundantly and saying, hey, who is my 3T crew, will bring all of those people who you'd be surprised will come and support you. And the journey won't feel isolated. So that is why it's important for a startup to focus on abundance and tell yourself out loud, I am going to walk in this journey abundantly. I'm going to have everything that I need, no worries, because I roll in abundance. And this business, because it is my passion, is going to happen the way I need to.
Hmm. You have to. When you talked about money, I thought about, as we talked about earlier, how you don't want to develop your business having a transactional mindset. To me, money is just a reward for doing what you were supposed to do. you know. And so, hey, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do for my business, and because of that, someone saw the value in what I'm doing, and I got the reward, and the reward was financial gain. And so that's it's just a byproduct of being excellent. And that's how I look at it. And so when you think of it that way, that's how you continue to create value for yourself as well as for your business. And when you talked about thinking, opening your mind up to thinking abundantly, because through that the manifestation comes. You start
Yes.
having that overflow of opportunities and meeting quality people that's just for you because you're keeping your mind open. And that's why I talk about words to omit from your vocabulary. Like, I don't know, because when you say I don't know, you stop yourself from coming up with a solution to know. And so that's why for me, what has helped me to continue to think abundantly is to always be curious. Be curious about meeting new people, be curious about my craft, because once I'm curious, that sparks me to want to learn more about it and continue to move forward. And so I love your breakdown of thinking abundantly, and how it all ties to being holistic. I just love it. Um,
Yes.
so,
It,
oh, I'm sorry. Were you going to say something?
No, I was just agreeing with you. But the one thing we need to know is there's always going to be an ebb and flow, whether, you just a mom and pop to you're a multi-billion dollar business. There's always going to be an ebb and flow. So there's no way to avoid that. But again, everything is a lesson and a blessing. If I'm not flowing right now, what
Mhm.
is the situation teaching me? Do
Yeah.
I need to grow in some areas? Do I need to grow in my mindset? But you're going to have an ebb and flow, and that is a part of the entrepreneurial journey. That is a part of the growth, because if you were always booming, you wouldn't grow, you'd be stagnant.
Right.
So again, if walking the abundance, and then knowing even when things are not flowing, you're still in abundance, because maybe you need to improve your information and your skills. And there is no more abundance than the skills and talents and passion that you possess. All of that is your currency. What you're able to do, the skills that you know, that is your currency. So even when there's no money flowing, you always have abundance in your entire body.
I love that. I love that. And so, what kind of activities should a person do daily to stay consistent in thinking abundantly?
I find myself, even though my schedule is busy, I always find time to read something that's going to spark. Because, sometimes we go to school, we get all this knowledge, and it's like, boom, I got it. And then there are certain things that, you don't ever return to because you went so fast to go on and get in the race. So I always make sure that I am reading something that's going to keep my mind grounded, that's going to help me remember what I started off on my journey to do. Because sometimes we get derailed because people are offering us different opportunities and it sounded good. So you always need to have those things that keep you grounded, whether it's reading, whether it's writing, whether it's vision boarding or looking at your vision board every single day. These are the things that I said I wanted to do. Okay, so if the what people are offering me don't fit into this, I'm gonna have to turn it down because my focus is on the things, the values that I said to draw in abundance. You can't get sidetracked. So we need to find those things that ground us, that
Mhm.
remind us to walk in abundance, whether it's meditation, whether it's one book that I read talks about a mothering circle, because they said it takes a village. Deborah Burnell, love her. Say it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a mother's counsel to raise an adult.
Ooh.
And so I'm thinking of the same thing, with a father's counsel. We always can use a support system. So if you need to get on the phone with somebody 5 minutes, talk to me and have them give you affirmations, then that's what you do. If you need to have a special place in your house, mirrors with your affirmations, that's what you do. Every morning before I go out into the world, I have about a 2-hour ritual of stuff that I do, going in my garden, meditation, reading, all kinds of things to fuel my spirit so that I can remind myself that I always walk in abundance, money or no money. Abundance is dripping all through me. So you all have to decide what empowers your mind. You cannot go out and empower anybody else
Do not.
unless you are empowering yourself. So you
Absolutely.
have to start with you. Develop a routine. Let it be in abundance. Write yourself some notes, abundance notes. What they say, write checks to yourself. Write checks to your business.
Right.
Those type of things, they work. Those are transformations. Energy is so real. You have to see yourself with the energy of abundance. Once you do that, they say what they say, you attract what you are. So if you are walking energy bundle of abundance, then
Mm,
that's what you're going to attract. So you need to
absolutely.
decide what it is that empowers you and help you feel like your very essence is abundance, and do it every day. Sometimes you might skip a day. Don't let it go too long. Don't let it go too long because another book, and I'm a big book person, Slight Edge. It says that one day that you forget becomes a whole bunch of days, and that's how you get derailed.
Same here. You talk to me about your daily habits. I start, work at 9 a.m. for, my business. And but I get up at 5:15 a.m. And it's like, what do you do from 5:15 to 8:59 a.m. Monday through Friday? Well, I have to, like you said, pray, meditate, work out, because as an entrepreneur, right? As an entrepreneur, you're juggling. Just because you become an entrepreneur, life doesn't stop. You still have your personal challenges that you're dealing with. You don't want it to spill over into your business. And so to help, tackle on your new day, you gotta clear your mind of distractions. So I do exactly just that. I spend those 3 hours or so. Maybe I want to cook, maybe I want to take a walk, outside. Maybe I want to go work out, maybe I like cycling, I love running. And so I find things, reading, definitely, I'm a reader too. Every morning I read. And it's like, I have to do something that I love to do, to so that I can continue to walk in my purpose. And so that's why it's really important to be careful not only what you eat, but it's equally important to be careful what you listen to and also who you hang around, because like you said, law of attraction is real. It can stunt your manifestation if you're hanging around or building relationships, with people who are not like-minded, who are operating on the frequency of scarcity and not abundance. So would you be open to sharing a few of your affirmations?
Oh, yes, I do now. I always borrow Deepak. That's my number one man right there when it comes to affirmations. But one of my Babas, oh my goodness, he says this affirmation. It's not an affirmation. It's kind of like a Bible. He says the cut of regret goes deeper than that. The pain of regret goes deeper than that of discipline.
Mm,
And I love it. When we're talking about entrepreneurship, discipline is so high on the list. Is what you don't do that cuts so deep. It
mhm.
may be like discipline takes the extra effort, but that cut of regret, that pain of regret, is cuts deeper than that one of discipline. And as an entrepreneur, we do need to remember that. So I have lists. These are the main things. I can't do everything in one day, but these are the main things that I need to do every single day to make
Mm,
sure my business is continuing to move forward. So with an abundance mantra, I always have it right here on my phone because I'm serious about it.
mhm.
So when I and Deepak has a whole meditation series on abundance. And so when I put all the meditations together, it says, I create my personal abundance from an infinite source. The core of my being is my ultimate reality. Today, I behold all of the abundance that surrounds me. Today, I focus on what I want to attract to my life. From this day forward, I invite unlimited abundance in my life. Today, I embrace my potential to do, be, have whatever I can. Everything I desire is within me. I use my conscious intention. That's the thing we didn't talk about. Intention and attention to manifest my dreams. I accept and expect abundance to flow easily to me. So that's all the meditation affirmations put together of abundance. And another good thing that he says, and we're trying to focus on erasing fear. He says to live too much in the past causes depression. To live too much in the future causes anxiety. So it is now that you need to be plugged into and having gratefulness. There's times where it's going to be tough and you want to sit under the blanket and just hide from the world. That's natural. You don't ignore it. You embrace it and you lay under that blanket and you say, what are the things that I am grateful for at this very moment? And that is the thing that will get you up and get you moving. Have your little self-talk. People that work around me know I talk to myself, whether people in the room or not. So affirmations, write your own affirmation. I say, it's going to be all right. I walk in abundance. I'm not worrying about anything. I'm not going to let anything hold me down because I know my passion. I know my purpose. I know why I'm here. And because I know why I'm here, then I know there's nothing that can stop me. What's for me is for me. Just like McDonald's and Burger King on the same block. And when Sam's Club and Walmart used to be on the same block, Walgreens and CVS on the same block. What is for me is for me. As long as I'm running my own race and I'm not worrying about what they're doing next door, what's for me is for me, even in the pandemic, even when things are shut down. What is for me is for me. And if there's an obstacle in the way, there's a lesson or a lesson in there that I need to learn. And it might be growth. So everything, what I say, every opportunity is a chance. I'm giving y'all all my affirmations and life lessons.
Thank you.
Every opportunity is a chance for the spirit to deepen. And one thing in traditional Yoruba culture, they say, you chose what you wanted to come here and do. You chose the obstacles and the tests that you were going to have to go through because you believe that you could do it. So don't ever stop believing that you can't do it. Don't stop believing that you cannot overcome anything. And my last favorite one is, this is a Kemi original. When people don't open a door, bring your own handle.
Listen.
So that is the one that I make my t-shirt. When they don't open the door, bring your own handle. Because as an entrepreneur, that is truly, I've been blessed that people have opened certain doors for me, but a lot of times I've taken the time to write my own programs based on my own niches, or niches, instead of French. And so sometimes you have to bring your own handle, and it works better and it feels better anyway. So just keep that in mind. What's for you is for you. If they don't invite you to the table, build your own. Because maybe it's time for a table made by you. So as an entrepreneur, that self-talk is very, very, very important so you don't lose sight of why you started.
Absolutely, you don't want to lose sight of that. You don't, because there is a reason why you want to become an entrepreneur. This generation needs what you have to offer. And so, believing in and having that scarcity mindset is going to stunt your growth. And what kind of contribution will you give to the world then? So I think it's really important to have that kind of mindset of abundance and thinking that way. So this brings me to question number 10. Question number 10 is, what beliefs have made fears come true, and how did you combat them?
Okay, so what beliefs have made your fears come true? I think the biggest one that I had to debunk after 10 years is the whole issue of money. I've always, through the nonprofit, now I learned with the LLC, and my prices are right where they need to be. But through the nonprofit, I would make things really low. I would charge low amounts, and I was scared to apply for big grants. And
Mm,
I had to unpack in my mind that I didn't feel like I deserved money, or this fear of, if a lot of money came, it would be so much to manage and different things like that. Or if I asked people for a certain amount of money, they wouldn't pay it. And then I
mm,
would lose out. So those are the fears that came true. And then, it was something that I had to overcome. And I'm now redoing or revisioning my nonprofit. After the 7 to 10 years is what you have to do now. And so to combat it, I had to sit with myself and really talk to myself about money. I had
mm,
to look at the talents and get into the mindset of, okay, everything I do, that's currency. My energy is currency. And so when people are asking me to do things, and this is something entrepreneurs, this is the lesson we all have to learn. When people are asking you or contracting you and paying you for stuff, they are paying for the years of knowledge that you sent and you spent in somebody's classroom. They're paying, and we were talking about this too. They're paying for the $100 books that you had to buy in
right.
class. They're
Mm,
paying for the nights you stayed up writing out your program or making your products or studying, sitting in seminars, sitting at the foot of an elder. You have invested time into what you are doing. And 9 times out of 10, what people are paying is a fraction of the time, of the dedication, of the materials. I'm sitting here right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 books that I have read to bring people this knowledge.
mm,
So they're paying a fraction of what you have invested in yourself. So that was a fear that I had to combat. It's not just the service that you're getting the wisdom, the experience, the expertise, the passion, which is something that you're not going to get just going to Walmart and taking something off the shelf. I had to think about that. You're paying for a relationship. So that is how I had to combat the fear of money, because I had to break it down. What is it that goes behind my product and my service that you're not going to get somewhere else? And so that is again how you break down the fear. Why do I feel this way? Because it's causing me to work harder. If I lowball, something, if I low price something, it's causing me to work harder when I could put more energy and time into developing this product. So again, it's that self-talk, it's that unpacking, it's that going back to the first time you had this experience or something. Because we experience things and we don't know how much of an effect it has on us. So we have to sit back and we have to take off those layers. We have to address it, and we have to build ourselves back up so that we can go back out into the world and give the world what we have.
absolutely. I thank you so much for breaking that down because I struggled with the same, early in business development. Personally, I had asked myself, well, what kind of relationship do you have with money? Why are you thinking that way? And then I also had to come to on the business side, and I realized that in the absence of value, cost would always be an issue, and so I made myself to be extremely valuable. And that way, when the price is what it is, I wouldn't feel any kind of way about it because of the value. The value is there. So for
Yes,
entrepreneurs who are watching, in your business, if you're struggling with the pricing your product, just come up with the value of your product or your services, and then on a personal level, ask yourself what is the current relationship that you have with money to not feel secure in the price of your product or services, because somebody will pay for it. You just have
yes,
to
they
believe.
will. Yes, they will.
have to believe it, and you just have to create enough value around it to feel comfortable in pricing it. It is what it is. And the person who can afford it just may not be your target audience, but there is somebody out here who will pay for the value of what it is that you're building. So I hate that we're cutting, I hate that we're coming to a close because this is an awesome subject, for startups to understand as they're getting ready to build, their empires, and as they're getting ready to continue on progressing forward. Because you talked about discipline, and that's something that I have to consciously, stay aware of being disciplined because motivation come and go. That comes with your feelings.
Oh, yes.
You
Whew.
can go to business off of motivation because there's going to be some days where you don't feel like getting out of bed because something personal happened, or
Yes.
you're dealing with these roadblocks, but you have to remain disciplined to continue moving forward. And so the last question for the evening is, if you could share any other advices, or any other advice, excuse me, with startups, what would it be and why?
I would just say, just know why you're doing what you're doing. Again, if it's money, that's going to be short lived. Know
Right.
why you're doing what you're doing. If you have close family, involve them in it. If you have children, make sure your business is something like one of the Babas. He says, Baba Wakesa with I education. There's no success without succession.
Mm.
So if you can't pass this on to your children, what is your goal? I understand if, this is your passion, your gift to the world. But even if you are passing to your children, this is how you go, lessons of this is how you go after what you want, not necessarily your particular business. But if you're saying this is how you add value for yourself, this is how you go after what you want, this is how you start a business, they are still taking away from something. But if you have children and there's nothing that they can learn from your business, there's no success without succession. And you have to figure out why. Because if it's not truly your passion, it's going to be short lived. Now, the last thing, when I started my nonprofit, my goal was, hey, I need to work. I need to work. And Elder used to say, I remember your voicemail used to say, I'm either at work or at work or at work. And so I worked, I got contracts, I got exposure. It was great. But at the end, there really was nothing but a whole bunch of pictures and great memories and family saying they enjoyed, this, that, and the other. So now I'm looking for residual income, something that, I could do once and it just multiplies in other ways of abundance. So you need to figure out what your goals are in all of this. What do you see happening at the end? Identify your goals, stick to your goals, make sure that everything you do aligns with those goals so that you are doing things holistically. Back to holistically.
Favorite word.
Everything matters. Everything matters. Every single moment, everything matters. Even when you have your off days, because people don't say, "Oh, that's Kimmy," but she's not working right now. So she's not representing Coaching for My Kids and Yemoja's Kids. People don't say that. They know you. And so make sure your character is what it needs to be as that business owner, even when you sitting down eating a meal with your family, because your character will take you places your talents could never take you. And so that's the last bit of advice that I have.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kimmy. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. And you know what? Let's see. I think there are some questions. Okay. Awesome. So we had some people who were viewing this live video. Thank you guys so much for watching. And please tell us, how can we stay in contact with you, Kimmy? Where are you located? What is your email address for those who are watching this to continue and even doing the replay? for everyone to continue to stay in contact with you and reach out to you.
Okay, so my website is Yemoja's Gifts, and I don't think I can type in here.
Oh,
But it's Yemojas Gifts,
mhm.
and that's my. I'm giving y'all. I forgot what I was giving you. .com. I couldn't remember. I'm sorry, my brain. I was like, okay, so that is my website. And my email address right now is just KemiAbifarine@gmail. So it's my name. My name is scrolling across the bottom. And so just at gmail.com. Because I do a weekly, pushing myself. I do a weekly motivational blog just to kind of keep us reminding ourselves to be abundant. So that's something that's there if you want to join. So the website is yemojasgifts.com. And my email address, there we go. Boom. Technology is amazing. So that's there. And from there, even in the website, you can get to me, email, telephone number, any of those things. I'm on Instagram as Yemoja's Gifts. And then my Facebook is me, Kemi Abifarine, because I am Yemoja's Gifts. Yemoja's Gifts is Kemi Abifarine. So when you come there, you're getting me in the business all in one.
Absolutely. And you mentioned earlier about intentional and unintentional. So I am so glad to end the live on this note, because this is not the last time the Village Project is going to see Miss Kimmy. So I got some good news for you guys, is that she's actually going to join us for our next mixer next month. We have our mixer the fourth Tuesday in November. So November the 24th, Kimmy is going to be our guest speaker, continuing talking about abundance, thinking and developing abundance mindset. And perhaps you can talk about intentional and unintentional, continue on with that.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, it's a deal. So make sure that you go to the villagemixer.eventbrite.com. You can also go to the events tab underneath the Village Projects page to register for the upcoming mixer that is happening November the 24th at 6 p.m. And we're having the guest speaker, fabulous serial entrepreneur, balanced womanpreneur, Kimmy Abifarine. Thank you so much for coming by and stopping by tonight. It was amazing to talk to you this evening.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate you and I appreciate everyone that's watching.
Absolutely. And so to stay in contact with the Village Project, make sure that you're following the Village Project on Facebook. We're on Instagram as well as LinkedIn. And we do have a newsletter that comes out bi-weekly, where we provide resources and tips to help you to maintain work-life balance for yourself as you're building a business. There are resources that we include, different podcasts in the newsletter that we include as well. You can go to the website villageproject.net to subscribe to the newsletter. And with that being said, thank you so much, Kimmy. And you all have an awesome and amazing Thursday. And I'll see you November 24th.